Welcome. I wasn't, so much change has been going on. I wasn't sure if I was going to be here, but thought I'd show up. At least we can do a little meditation together this morning. I will keep it short, maybe 20 minutes, and then maybe 10 minutes of talking, and then, I'll give an update on how these talks will unfold as we go forward. I have some ideas. I'm thinking probably once a week and Sunday evenings might be best for my schedule right now, but we'll see. I might be starting a new job, so lots in flux. So one day at a time. So if you just want to let out a sigh, maybe let all that go, whatever you might have been carrying yourself. And just really let whatever you're seated upon, whatever you might be lying upon, to just take you, to support you. To let gravity consume you, drop you. Just noticing what it's like to be here. Sort of clenching or momentum that wants to take you forward. Just noticing all of that. I'm just noticing too, whatever emotional experience might want to come forth as we slow down. So we take these moments to stop or pause. It can be an opportunity for any unfelt emotion to come to the surface. Which we don't even have to label or understand. We can just allow it in this space, give it permission to be. And also notice any subtle no's, any subtle not wanting this, or any subtle wanting this, trying to hold on. Or any subtle movement that's trying. And if it's really difficult to be here, if the mind's really busy or there's some really intense sensations or pains in the body, you can always ground yourself by moving your attention into your hands and feet. And to following your breath. Just in its natural rhythm. Or even opening your eyes and having a soft gaze. Or just having your eyes open to reground yourself. Remember where you are. Let your nervous system know that it's okay. It's safe to be here in this moment. The mind's really strong, taking you off in fantasy. Not that any of these need to be done, but only if it's very intense to just rest in your being. Otherwise, we can just rest here. And continuing to hold ourselves in that space where we can drop deeper and deeper, become heavier. Almost on every exhale, we can rest a little deeper, surrender a little more. Just being here fully, even for just this moment. It's permission to just be, no matter what is appearing. And we don't have to feel a certain way in order to allow ourselves to just be. That we can just be no matter what is appearing. And always knowing that we can stay as long as we need, feeling the felt sense of the hands, feet, the breath, having open eyes. It doesn't mean that we failed, or that we're not doing it as good as we could. This is really about honoring the moment and what feels is most in alignment with what's being asked. What is allowing you, the movement that's moving, it's allowing you to open more into this moment, to be more fully present here. Can we just rest? Can we just be? Allowing whatever wants to move from this place of being to move. Not assuming that rest or resting in being means that we never do anything, that no action or movement happens. But can we live from this place of rest, still engaged? This is something for each of us to find out on our own, through our own lived experience. To move through life with that effortless effort, with a zone, with that place where it feels in alignment, feels in harmony. We can begin to open our eyes. Just noticing what it's like to be here from this place of rest. Seeing if we can still pay attention and feel the felt sense of our body, of our aliveness, even as we're engaged in the world and perceiving the world. Just even noticing what it's like to perceive the world without immediately engaging in the world, immediately running to something or the next thing or the next narrative about what's happening or what you're seeing or perceiving. And just really creating space, permission for whatever wants to arise, to move through you, to not hold anything back in this space. This is the gift of this space, is this absolute permission, this unconditional love of self where everything is allowed to be as it is. Every tear, every sense of anger or frustration or discontent, dissatisfaction, unfulfillment, joy, bliss, love, unlovability, wholeness, lack, all of it can be here. We can be in this open space of allowing it all to be as it is, to allow it to flow through, to be felt, to be met. For me lately, noticing how easy and how addictive it can be to want to go into the story about it again, to try to fix, to try to solve, how deeply, deeply conditioned this is within us. That something's not right, it means something's wrong with me. This shouldn't be happening. I don't want this. Instead of stopping to feel all of that, the momentum, the inertia to try to just immediately go into trying to get out of it, to stop the feeling, to make it go away, or to assume we know what we need to fix it. And still, even reminding myself to slow down, and to feel the not wanting this, the dissatisfaction, the discontent, the frustration, all of it. It's so difficult because it can be so overwhelming at times. And so we just do our best. We meet ourselves where we're at with as much ability to be with it as possible, not pushing ourselves too much if it's intense, not expecting ourselves to never make mistakes, to never just want to distract ourselves or move away. Can we have compassion for those parts of us too that want to keep us safe, that want to ensure that we're okay? But at the same time, noticing how all of these movements keep moving us away and keep reiterating this sense of I'm not okay. Every attempt to fix it is this reinforcing this sense of I'm not okay when it's coming from a place of lack. Again, as I've said before, it's a different feeling when it's coming from this place of wholeness, this place of curiosity and wonder, and not trying to become more whole, but feeling already whole. Then something might arise, and it might be this movement to do something about it, to take action in a certain way. It's revealing that something's maybe out of balance or out of alignment, and something needs to shift. So this is where we have to really fine-tune our own inner guru so that we begin to know, to notice, and to be able to discern the difference between when we're moving from this place of wholeness and this place of lack, this place of incompleteness that's just facilitating, keep going around and around the sense of I'm not okay, something's wrong with me. And each time reaching out to fix it and then continuing to experience the same circumstance, it just seems to reinforce this idea. Yes, it's true. Nothing's okay. I'm not okay. And these patterns can be so difficult to see in ourselves at times. I don't want to say that this is easy at all. This path of discernment has been one of the most long and bumbling journeys I've ever been on, making tons of mistakes along the way. Because especially I believe in our society, and then looking at the family I was raised in as well, all of this conditioning. That it's all about everything out there should make me okay in here. And if I'm not okay in here, then it's a sign that something's wrong with me. Always looking to the external. Always somehow diminishing my own sense of knowing. And again, another place within my own experience that this is coming to light again. And I share this, as always, it's not about making my experience your experience. It's the last thing I want to do. But sometimes sharing our own personal stories can give us insight into help us better understand what these concepts are pointing to, and better understand how we ourselves might get stuck in our own patterns, even if they're not the same. So we don't have to look at this in this voyeuristic way where we're just looking at someone else and their vulnerability and disassociating it from ourselves. But rather seeing how taking everything in, taking it in as this way of learning, of seeing our own experience through a new perspective, through new eyes. Then even if someone's experience seems nothing like ours, there can be a gift in it. Helping us maybe reflect. Maybe it's not the same way, but it can help trigger a reflection in us to look at our own experience of being and what might get in the way. So learning to discern, where was I going with that? This learning to discern, at what point does being turn into apathy? This is a question that I've been sitting with lately, is there's been this movement, it seems like, into this state where very little is happening on the external. And that's noticing how that is manifesting within me. That there was this okayness with it for quite some time, and then it got to this point where it was like this fiery energy came up. It was like wanting to take action, wanting to do. And noticing, then sitting with that and seeing if that is resistance to this whatever life is manifesting now. Knowing that I've explored all the channels that I can, I've reached out in all the ways I can, and then letting it go. Or is this a sign to that this resting and being has turned into this, is revealing a sense of apathy, or turning into a disassociation from life? And again, this is a vulnerable one for me to share because it's fresh right now. This is what I sit with. And it's okay to be in the question. So often we don't want to rest in the question. We assume we need to know, or we assume we know, oh, it's apathy, and so I need to do this or I need to do that. But as we can rest in our being, we can allow, it can be uncomfortable because we want to know the answer so that we can act. We don't want to be in the uncomfortability of not knowing, coupled with whatever uncomfortable feelings that we're already feeling. But as we rest in that place of not knowing, a deeper knowing can appear. And for me, it's still evolving. It's like this is something out of balance in my system or some belief still at play that's protecting me from life in some way, or pushing life away. I'm not sure. Noticing the mind wanting to grab hold, wanting to make it go away, thinking it knows what needs to happen or what needs to solve in order to get what it wants. But then not even going into this place of shaming it or shaming myself for it wanting to get what it wants. Allowing the humanness of our experience to come through. This is that delicate balance between not dismissing our humanity for spiritual quest, not using spiritual lingo, it's all about, being, and something should just arise. Maybe there's something in our system or some unconscious belief that's still at play that's blocking us in some way, that's preventing us from moving forward. We don't know. But this is why we continue to rest in that place of open inquiry where we're willing to be shown. We can even pray or connect with spirit in some way that calls to us to help us come deeper into the unknown, because there's so much in our psyche, unconscious material in our psyche, of how we might be protecting ourselves from life in certain ways, or clinging hold of life in certain ways. That resting in our being doesn't preclude doing some of that human work at times, of really looking at our own belief systems, being willing to be shown what might there be anything, not assuming there's something in the way. Maybe this is what is being asked, to be in the discomfort of not having much happen right now. So whatever life situation is appearing for you, to be in that, maybe this is is maybe what is being asked of me is to be in the discomfort of feeling whatever I'm feeling when I don't get what I want, or the discomfort of not wanting to experience whatever we're experiencing. Whether it be too much, just there's too much going on in our lives and feeling that, or maybe there's nothing going on in our lives and being with that. Or maybe there's just some sticky situation, not just, maybe there's some sticky situation in our life that's bringing up a lot of thoughts and discomfort. And so we rest in it with this openness that maybe there is something that it's not, this is the answer, I just need to rest here and do nothing. But if there's something for me to do, this is how my prayers have evolved, is I am willing to be here. And if there's something for me to do, if there's something for me to know, that I'm willing, something for me to see, that I'm willing. Something that's in the way, that's blocking me, something I'm misperceiving, that I'm willing to be shown, show me. I'm willing to experience the discomfort of it, to do what might be asked of me to help heal it in some way, if I can participate in that healing, or if it's just resting in the beingness of the discomfort of whatever it is that's arising. And again, this is how these talks can be so confusing to some, because it seems like it's some days I'm pointing you in one way and some days I'm pointing in another way. But again, it's not excluding anything, that everything can be included. When we rest in this openness, it's truly open to anything, any direction, any possibility, any understanding. And it might be working on some deep unconscious beliefs in our psyche. It might be resting in being. It might be feeling the discomfort of the feeling. It might be taking action. It might be pushing ourselves in some way. And this is one thing that I went through with that's kind of coming back full circle too. And this is what can happen is we can think. So for a few years, I was doing pretty intense hot yoga regularly. Like it was like almost, I guess, one of those healthy addictions where it just felt so good. It's that I was just like going intensely every day. And then noticing how over time it was fueling this sense of striving energy in me, this trying to get somewhere, trying to become something, it was just feeling out of balance. It was pushing me more when my system was wanting to rest, wanting to slow down, to just be. And it took me a while to recognize it. And it took me a while then after recognizing it to let it go for a while. And then noticing how there can be then this belief about it. Well, that is bad for me because it pushed me in ways that were unhealthy, that it was facilitating the striving energy, this clenching of trying to get, which is what this striving is. It's this subtle or overt clenching in the body, tightening, efforting. So just noticing how I could have had this belief about it. Well, hot yoga is bad. It encourages striving and efforting and all of these, and then dismissed it. But noticing what's true for me now, and noticing that there's this this fiery energy within me that's wanting to push in some way. To do that needs to be kind of re-engaged in this kind of, I don't want to say push, but this like really intense energy exertion. But that noticing how that can be done in a different way. It doesn't need to be done. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's about striving. that we can exert intense effort and it not be about striving. And so just noticing how we can have these ideas, we can be like, okay, that's bad, or that does this, and draw conclusions about it and then dismiss it. But noticing how as life continues on, we might be called in different ways, and we might be brought back to something with a different perspective. That maybe it isn't about, we can have then misguided beliefs, which I noticed is something that's kind of become more clear in my own experience, this misguided belief that beingness is more sedentary, more that these really intense activities are all about striving, of getting somewhere and becoming something. And then we can dismiss all of that. But once again, it's not about dismissing anything. Nothing needs to be excluded. Every activity, everything can be included, and it's our own inner orientation to whatever we're doing. Can we be at rest within ourselves even as we're doing really intense things? And listening to our bodies too, because in some moments it might be facilitate those really intense things. Our body might be asking us to let it go for a while, because it is we're caught in this loop of striving. And it might be, sometimes we can stay with the activity and just our perspective shifts, and then nothing really changes on the outside. Or sometimes we need to drop the activity for a while so that we can reground in our being, and then it might come back later or not. So again, we don't have any conclusions. We don't have any idea. Nothing needs to be excluded because something was useful at one point in time, and then we began to see through it in different ways. It doesn't mean that we can't go back to it. We can't still engage in this doingness of life. So these are where these unconscious or maybe very subtle dismissive thought patterns can be questioned. When we're truly open and truly listening, anything can be seen. Maybe we notice how we've become apathetic or disengaged in life. And then there's a movement within us to then become more active in certain ways. Or maybe there's no movement, and then so can we stay with that feeling, that discontent, that sense of maybe lack or limitation or dissatisfaction with life. And again, I'm taking us on this circle because it is such a circle. Only we know, so we sit in this openness, willing to be shown, not sitting in this openness, being like, okay, life is going to just have its way and transform everything, and then I'll be good to go. But participating in this dance, listening to the guidance that comes, acting on it, being open and being willing to be shown, being open, being willing to redirect it. Being open and willing to take action where needed, or to sit with uncomfortable feelings where needed, or to do some healing work where needed. And this is where we sort of need to be willing to make lots of mistakes on the road, as we might think that, I'm feeling apathetic, and there's this movement to then become more engaged in certain ways or pick up old activities again. And then we start doing them, and then it just doesn't feel right after we do it. So again, we're open at any point in the journey to be shown. So maybe we take an action, we think we know what's being asked of us, we move in that direction, and we realize, no, that wasn't it. no, it just feels off. This feeling wasn't really asking me to become more engaged or push harder. That this feeling was really, that was maybe sometimes that's where the mind can come in and have this idea that because it doesn't want to feel those feelings, so it'll plant all these ideas of what you could do so that you don't have to feel those feelings. But again, it can be hard to really discern whether that's the mind or whether so that's where we just take action. We go with it. Okay, it seems like the next thing that's being asked of me is to become more active again. And then we do that and see where that takes us and how that leaves us feeling, whether we feel open, alive, connected, or if it feels like it's contracting us more in this sense of striving once again. So at any point, we might get it wrong, we come back, and then we can discern through all our trial and error what's really being asked. It does become clearer and clearer, but still it can be messy. And noticing that within myself that there's a lot of clarity when something feels in alignment and when something doesn't feel in alignment, but still there's lots of things that are appearing right now where there's not a lot of clarity on. Even this potential new job that I have. I think there's a knowing in me about it, but there's part of me that doesn't want to quite let it go yet, so it's kind of holding on, wanting to check it out more. And that's okay. It's not quite sure. Can we be in that not quite sure? So sitting with it, well, I'm not sure, so then I need to decide yes or no. So instead, I just called them up and told them I'm really not sure right now. Maybe I could come by and hang out for an hour or two just to have a sense of what it's like. And again, this isn't to tell you what to do in different situations, but to point to this place where we can, when we rest in our being, we can be open to new, like many different possibilities. When we come from the mind, it's so conditioned from the past of this is a yes or this is a no or I have to know now. Whereas when we rest in this deeper part of us, that we can be in this place of not knowing and allow the answer to come in ways maybe we didn't expect. So noticing even within myself, again, I'm going back to myself over and over again. Here I am. I said I wasn't going to talk, and now there's all these words coming out of me. But yes, this resting and being going on for a while was okay. Then getting to this point where whether it was showing me that I was becoming apathetic or whether it was fear of projection into the future of what this means by continuing to stay here, continuing to feel this. And noticing when that fear came in that there was still this old pattern that kicked back in that wanted to immediately go and grasp at things and apply for jobs and reach out to these people or that people or do. Just noticing that. I'm not even saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just noticing that this is what has happened. Noticing the intensity of the emotion behind it. Not sure if it's coming from this place of fear or if it's coming from this place of really moving me to become more connected in other ways. Ways that I might have become dismissive or complacent or apathetic in subtle ways. And this is part of the thing too in the counseling program. It seemed so weird. It was like everything felt like it was circling back around. It was like trying to make us whole, but then it was like asking us to do all these reflections to basically break us apart, to break all our ideas of ourselves apart, to break all our sense of I know this or I know that or I am this or I am that. But yet then it's still trying to tell us how to be in a certain way. And so for about 1.5 years of the 2-year program, I was just, my mind was spinning like this seems opposite to each other, how to make sense of these two pieces. They're telling me, how to be, what to know, but then also that there's this to question everything I know, to dismantle everything I think I know. They're trying to dismantle my beliefs while impart these beliefs that it's all, everything just sounds like this big, huge paradox. And I struggled with this in yoga for a long time too. They would put us in some very intense, very strength-induced, where you needed a lot of strength to be in the posture, to hold the posture. And then they'd be like, to let go, to not use any effort in the posture. And for probably 10 years of my yoga practice, I didn't understand what that meant. How can you be in this posture that uses such intense strength and not exert effort? But again, this is what I'm coming back to in terms of this coming back into yoga for myself is just, once again, it's like sometimes the understanding comes and then we have to let things go and then the understanding deepens. But there's a deepening of this understanding of what this effortless effort is about. That we can be doing intense things while still being in this place of rest, still engaging from this place of stillness, from this place of peace. Even we can be at peace even in the midst of chaos. It's where we're engaging from, not what we are engaging with. It's not our circumstances have to be peaceful for us to be peaceful. Our circumstances have to be joyful for us to be joyful. Our circumstances have to be loving for us to be loving. Or our circumstances have to be calm for us to be able to rest. Can we engage from that place of all those qualities? Then regardless of what's happening outside, we're still at rest. We still have an open, loving heart. We still have joy within us. We're still at rest. We're still at peace, even when things are chaotic or busy. It's flipping the whole equation around. And I think it has to be said too that to be careful not to spiritualize it and dismiss whatever's happening out there. Okay, well then I'm not going to put any effort or any thought into what's happening out there. No, we can still be actively engaged in choosing the circumstances that we're in and choosing circumstances that feel more in alignment with where we are, that feel more in alignment with love or peace or joy. Doesn't mean we need to put ourselves in really intense, chaotic environments and prove to ourselves that we can be peaceful. I've played that game with myself. No, we can still use our own discernment there too. So it's not about dismissing any aspects of our humanity. We can still be actively engaged. We can still choose things that feel better for us than other things. But even when things don't pan out, how can we still tap into that peace within us, that love within us? And this is a practice that I share as I explore it too. That there's this deepening within myself in terms of what's wanting to be known in this regard. So to be willing to be in that not knowing, that open questioning, that not assuming that we should have had it figured out by now, or that we should know, or that clarity should always be there. Again, these are more limiting beliefs that impose expectations and more judgment on our experience. So when we truly give ourselves permission to be, it can be in this not knowing. To be in the maybe I went too far one way. I was too far in the doing over here, and then I went too far. I used to call it, when I was counseling people, this pendulum. The mind swings one way, it gets too involved in the doing, and then it swings the other way and gets almost apathetic and dismissive of life. And then we kind of move back and forth until we find more of this balance in the middle. And sometimes something comes along and we have to kind of reorient ourselves to that all over again. And that's okay. It's truly okay. Okay, my friends, my battery is about to die, and I talked a lot more than I anticipated. So I'm not going to do a talk on Friday, and then I'll post something on the Unveiling Truth Facebook page by this weekend to let you know when the next talk will be. I'm thinking one talk a week is probably enough for now. We'll see. Again, this is me being in the not knowing quite yet what wants to happen, but it feels like there's a lot happening within me to be able to, I don't know if this is helpful for you, being in my process with me, or that's for me to discern too. But if you are watching and have feedback, if it's helpful to be on the journey with me, or maybe it's for me to take some time just myself to continue to get some clarity within myself before I continue. See what arises as I sit in the awkwardness a little bit of that too, not knowing. Okay. Take good care, my friends. Namaste.